Mm.
You ready?
Absolutely. I am ready to go.
Do this, Manya. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Wild Women Leaders of Color. I am Sandra Hunter. And as you know, we are really excited about the 3-day event coming up in May. Your story is your superpower, which involves an examination of your story and how that prepares you to be a world changer. And in connection with that, and to get us juicy and ready for that event, we are having a series of interviews with women who are prominent leaders in their field, who are completely rooted in their stories. And today I'm so excited and delighted to introduce you to Manya Gittel, who is beaming in all the way from South Africa. So we're uniting the hemispheres here as we speak. Good morning, Manya.
Good morning, Sandra. I am so excited to be here. You know, as you're speaking and what it is that you're saying, the resonance just ripples through me.
Okay.
You know, and my connection with you. Yeah.
Yes. And we do have that connection. So let's ripple on. And to introduce you more clearly to everybody, I want to read your little bio here and then we can jump in. So for everyone who doesn't know the astonishing Manya, let me just introduce her very briefly now, and then she'll talk a little bit more about her amazing work. Manya Gittel brings 40 years experience of working with thousands of people in a wide variety of communities. She works on relationships and communication. That's the core of her work. She's designed and run programs, including executive coaching for the United Nations and the South African College of Applied Psychology that empower people to overcome relationship disconnection. Manya's core motto is create connection and rock in your relationships to rock your life. And as I said before, Manya lives in South Africa, but she also works globally. Good morning, Manya. Again, it's just so great to have you here. And I'm just going to just dive in here. How do you help women in this very important work of connection? We have this idea of connection. It's loosely used. So before we go into that question, how do you define connection?
Okay, so I'm going to leap in here, and that's one of the key resonances that I felt with you from the get-go is a leadership, wild women of color, and how in South Africa that has been such a core journey. And for me, the sense of belonging and the sense of social integration and the sense of there being something, and really, Sandra, I'm going to say this, that in Africa, I mean, one of my most exciting and essential drivers during my anti-apartheid activist times was that what Africa has to offer the rest of the world, South Africa has to offer the rest of the world, is this incredible sense of connection. For me, one of the things that really was important for me was that people in South Africa indigenously called whoever they were talking to sister and brother.
That's lovely.
So it's sissy, or you know, it's like we are all connected. So there's a sense of being there for one another, and also the word Ubuntu, that I am human and that you too are human, and that there's my humanity is linked to your humanity in a way that really connects us.
I like how you've invoked that idea of family, because that immediately changes the perception. So let me take you into the second part of the question, is just how do you help women with this very crucial idea of connection, and why are those relationships so pivotal?
Okay, So here we get to another aspect of it all, which is also really interesting, which is something as well that's related to my personal journey, but also with my clients, that I found that the women will often slip into the 2IC, so to speak. So it's second in command. So they will be being there in a supportive role. So, you know, there are women clients that I have who have been incredible in their supportiveness and their capacity for supportiveness, which I think is so key to the nurturing role that women have.
Are you talking about being supportive of the men?
Supportive of the men.
Okay.
And funnily enough, even in relation to other women, that sometimes there will be the sense of being supportive and holding the space for in a nurturing way.
Okay. Lovely.
And for me, the trick has been to really also become the leader and to hold the ground of my value. And I've worked with this myself in my own personal journey, where it's taking my value and being able to hold both those roles. So it's a matter of me not, you know, it's that quote, which Mandela also took on, which is that if I shine my light, it gives you permission to shine yours. So it's not about holding my light back so that you can shine yours. It's making sure that I don't overpower you, but by the same token, I'm supportive of you and able to shine my own light, and that we shine together. And that is the coaching focus that I have with women,
which I think is absolutely beautiful. And let me just interject for listeners who may not know this history. Manya mentioned Mandela, and she's referring to Nelson Mandela, the first Black South African president in South Africa after apartheid was over. So I love this, how you're navigating your way between, you know, both these roles of leader and supporter. I think that's what you were saying.
You got the essence of it. You got the essence of it. For me, that's really key in our leadership. How do we do both? How do we take that space to generate from ourselves what needs to be generated, as well as be sensitive to where other people are coming from, so we can hold them in turn in them generating from their essence and their power to be who they are, so we don't block their light when we shine ours and they can shine theirs.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for that, Manya. Let's just jump into, we have such little time, I'm so sorry, but let's jump into the next question, which is, tell us about a life-changing moment that started your journey towards this amazing work that you're doing, knowing that this was what you were going to do. And this, of course, goes to our listeners. This goes to our very fundamental question here about around story and leadership. How do those two correlate? So, Manya.
Okay. Sandra, you know, actually I have quite a few, but really this is a very key one, which is that my father was diagnosed with cancer, and my family was really, and I'm going to use this word because it's visceral, really crap in being able to communicate around this hugely tragic and traumatic incidents of a father in the family now having been terminally ill. Our family was really not communicating around this. And I was all of the precious tender age of 18. And there was this incident where I went to visit my dad in the clinic, and I walked up the stairs. I got to the door of the room that he was in. I saw him, you know, lying on the bed where you kind of still sitting, and he was looking out the window. And his face had this expression that was so sad. I could just viscerally feel this loss that he was experiencing of not going to live, and he loved life, and that it was being taken from him. And just, I'm trying to capture it in words, but it was just heartrending to see this man that I loved so much looking out the window with this extreme sadness. And I broke down in tears at the top of the stairs, looking through this doorway. He didn't know I was there. The more intensely I felt this empathy for him and the sadness, the less I could go through to talk with him. It was like there was a chasm of an invisible iron wall between us that I could not go through and talk with him. And that really stayed with me, that we never really properly connected. I never properly connected with him, although we'd been very close when I was little. When I was a teenager, he'd gone to work also outside of our city, etc. And communication had broken down in my teenage years. The thing is that I became a workshop junkie. I really was curious about, what is this about communication? What is this about connection? And decades later, my mom passed a couple of years ago, about 4 years ago, and our relationship was just exquisite in terms of communication. The sense of love and intimacy and sharing and openness. It was so special. And really, that was one of the key motivators for me, because it's like people's relationship with their families is also what enables them to connect with others or not. Those are our primal relationships. Mm-hmm. So now, knowing how open one can be, I used to freeze even saying hello to people or being able to talk really openly about vulnerabilities when I was young, and just having overcome all that and knowing what connection is about, and being able to be there for one another is, it's priceless. It's what humanity is about. So that's what brought me into coaching and working in this field.
Such a powerful moment, and a powerful series of moments as you come to realize and understand how crucial those points of connection, especially familial connection. And I just want to ask you, for our listeners here and our, obviously our viewers here, it's when we talk about connection, because this must have been quite a journey as a shy person for you, to then become this extraordinarily powerful leader in your field. What would you say helped you overcome those fears of connection and the fact that you didn't have connection? What propelled you?
I'm going to actually go now very spontaneously to this. Again, it's very touching. I mean, I had, and I need to say this, that in South Africa with apartheid, we had, when my mother went off to work, and she was incredibly devoted to her work. She said her family was her priority, but, she would be at work and not come home. She had to finish stuff. And I had a Black mom. And she was the one who was there for me. So she was the one who helped me.
Anya, could we just explain for people who are not familiar with the culture, when you say you had a Black mum, you mean you had a carer, you had a nurse,
a nurse, and nanny. There was somebody who used to work in the house, cleaning the house, looking after the kids for the woman who was white, who would go off to work. So we literally had people divided in South Africa based on the color of people's skin.
Mm-hmm.
And if you had a dark skin, then you were going to be a domestic worker and you would be cleaning the house and looking after the kids. Mm-hmm. So when I was little, I had a mom who was there for me, and I would watch the way that this person was treated, who I really loved, was treated in other instances where, you know, it didn't make sense that here was someone who was my primary caregiver, would be looking after me and making sure that I'm okay, and then really wouldn't be treated properly as a human being. So that really got to me. But then again, I had my own experience of sometimes not being respected and treated properly. And I really resonated. So, you know, the thing is that what I really need to say was my big turning point to answer your question was realizing that we're not alone. That when we are not feeling valued and we are feeling undermined and we are feeling invisible and not being given the respect and the space in the world, that we're feeling ashamed and we're feeling like we have to be less than. That actually, that is a really common experience. Yeah. For me, that was a huge turning point in me realizing, hang on, what we really need to do is to be able to be there for one another in our wholeness. And the strength is being able to hold that space of vulnerability and leadership in being able to be there for one another in our vulnerabilities and our strengths.
So thank you for that. That's an extraordinary experience. Let me just ask one final question before we have to wrap up. Is what, I've got my question here, let me just read it out. What core aspect of relationship do you think people need to understand? What's the most important thing? I mean, there are many, but what would you pick out?
You know, I recently had a little encounter with some serious illness for a couple of days, an infection, which then I got better from. But that was a eureka experience for me, where a song that I listened to, which is well known by a lot of people, the Simon and Garfunkel song of the Sounds of Silence. And for me, there's a line in there which really struck home after this experience, also needing help when I was so vulnerable and ill. And that was that I realized the extent to which I needed to speak, because the line in their song is people talking without speaking. So it's how truthful and authentically we talk when we speak, and do we really say what we need to say? And people hearing without listening. So it's a matter of truly being able to listen.
And you're so right, because when we have social interactions, mostly it's about kind of just filling the silence, right? Filling the gap, entertaining, being the most entertaining person. We jockey for position, right? But in these conversations that you're talking about, there's a different kind of active listening going on.
Absolutely. And I love how you're putting it, Sandra, because that's the thing. There's something about the way that we kind of vie for attention rather than actually being there and knowing that we're valuable and being able to be there for the other and then for us in a way that then we open up to one another, which is so much more cooperative rather than competitive.
I love how you've said that, because it really implies that with this kind of active listening, there's so much more respect. And when somebody senses respect, and you've mentioned this too, you know, not being respected, being dismissed, if you sense respect, you're much more willing to open to that person. That's really lovely. Your work is amazing.
Exactly.
So
thank you,
let
Sandra.
me ask you, when is your next event and how can we get in touch with that and sign up?
So I'm very excited. My next event is next weekend.
Do you have I should have asked you this before, but do you have
No, absolutely. I absolutely do. What I will do is I will post it underneath this live.
Perfect.
Okay, for people to find out more and to register, because it's 75 to 90 minutes a day. Next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, which is the 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. So what I'll do is I'll put the little banner and the link.
Thank you.
Okay, and then people just need to go into the opt-in page and have a look at the information, which is there about the event. It's about people getting to understand how we can create a shift, and what action is very experiential. It's how do we create a shift in a relationship where we're struggling or where there's not the kind of connection that we're really seeking for. How do we create a shift then? It's about really standing in our power and being empowered and being able to tune in with our purpose in that relationship. And then it's also about how do we sustain that in a relationship. So each day we're going to go deeper, and it's for about an hour, depending on how the Q&A goes. But I'm really making it a very safe space for people to come and bring their stuff and open up as much as they want to, and to learn from each other. And of course, I have processes.
What's the title?
The title is the same as, it's Rock Your Relationships to Rock Your Life, because our relationships are key for the quality of our lives. You know, Sandra, there's a lot of research as well that they found that for our well-being, relationships are in fact key. It's more important than smoking and what we eat. Can you believe it?
Thank you, Manya. This has been absolutely lovely. For viewers and anybody who's watching this as the recording, or whether you're there live, please note that Manya has a 3-day event next weekend. She's going to post the details for us. Rock Your Relationships to Rock Your Life, understanding the power of connectivity and connection, not just for you with someone else, but you with yourself. And I think it's going to be absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much, Manya, for sharing with us.
And Sandra, I really have to say thank you for the honor of being here, that you have excited me with your work and the importance of your work right from the get-go. So just what an honor it is being here with you, partnering in this. And I'm here with you in this group.
Thank you so much.
Lots of work to be done.
There is a lot of work to be done, and it's a mutual admiration society going on here, Manya. Thank you so much, guys. Check out the link in the just below the recording, and we'll see you next weekend. Thanks so much.
Okay, gorgeous. Take care.